Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would go ahead and give you guys a part two of what's going on with me training fasted now, just so that you guys could kind of hear what's been happening with it since I made that first video. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skill at my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Now this is post-DEXA scan, and I think this will be interesting. We can kind of see what happens with this coming up for my next scan, because I think for now I'm going to keep training fasted. Now, when I talk about this, this really comes down to diet adherence. I don't want anyone to think that I'm saying that training fasted is superior in any way for fat loss or muscle gain or anything like that. I don't want that to be misconstrued that way. This is about diet adherence. I'm a big eater. I don't like being hungry, but I have noticed that if I wait to eat till later in the day, my hunger isn't as bad. Like, in other words, when I'm in a caloric deficit, if I were to eat all of my calories and be done eating with my target calories for the day by something like 4 p.m., right? I'm going to get hungry in the evening. I'm still going to get hungry. Like if I eat 3,000 calories, like if that's what I decide I'm going to eat, just throwing that number out there, which is definitely deficit calories for me. I cannot maintain my body weight on 3,000 calories. I cannot do it. So if I were to eat that and be done with it by 4 o'clock, by 8 o'clock, I'm going to be starving. So what I've noticed though with the fasting, I can manage my hunger better in the morning. I manage it better. It's simply more tolerable. Because let's be realistic here. That's something a lot of us who are big eaters, we don't want to admit. You are going to get hungry when you are cutting body fat. You're going to get hungry. I don't care what sort of satiety tools you use, whether you choose to fill up on potatoes or peanut butter or a keto diet or whatever diet you choose to do. You are going to get hungry. Because those of us who can be happy eating 5,000 and 6,000 calories a day, we're big eaters. And I can easily knock that down and be quite content. So we like food and we're going to be hungry, and it's just something you're going to have to live with. So it's kind of an issue of determining how can you manage your hunger best. What works best for your self-discipline and self-control. And for me, if I'm just busy doing other stuff in the morning, I can manage my hunger better. I can manage it a hell of a lot better. So much better. So why does that matter? Well, if you're going to be on restricted calories, let's say for me, 3,000, 3,500, somewhere in there is what I tend to eat right now. And I've been losing weight. I dropped 15 pounds in 13 weeks on the last DEXA scan. That's pretty well where my calories have been. All body fat, no muscle loss, right? No muscle loss. So we want to replicate that again. And I started looking at that because I was looking at stuff that my bro Nicola Ella was talking about. And he is a diet coach. He is a prep coach. He is a natural bodybuilder, and the dude's pretty jacked, pretty strong. I don't think anyone can deny that. Those of you who are strength people would be like, oh man, this guy's weighing like 190, deadlifting 630, squats 500, high bar. That's pretty damn good, right? And the bodybuilding people are like, oh man, this dude looks awesome. So, I mean, he's one of those guys that everyone will kind of look at and give a nod. I don't care what circle you're in. You know, it's like, all right, dude's legit. He's kind of pointed that you don't necessarily need pre-workout food, pre-workout carbs, any of that. So much for people who think they need a supplement pre-workout. And, you know, I did experiment with it, but I've realized, you know, I'm getting enough food in the evening, and I train in the morning. So if I'm getting enough food in, enough protein and fat or carbs or whatever else, I decided to experiment with it. And you know what? I didn't see any loss of performance. That does kind of fly in the face of our conventional ideas, especially the research. When you start looking at athletes, perform best if they eat first, if they get carbs in their system ahead of time, right? They perform better. But the thing is, when you're in a calorie deficit, you're hopefully not pushing the bleeding limits of your training, right? We are training when we are in a calorie deficit, trying to lose body fat. We are training well within our maximum recoverable volume. And tons of experts, everyone from Lyle McDonald, everyone else will tell you that your volume actually needs to be reeled in a hair when you're trying to cut body fat. Because you're not trying to burn fat by training more, hopefully. You burn fat with your calorie deficit or just other physical activity. Hopefully you're not just beating your body up trying to do this. And that's what trying to train your way to a lower body fat can do if you're not careful. You do have to watch that. At a certain point, we have to go, okay, how about we just build as much muscle as we can and then use enough training workload to either stimulate a little bit more growth or maintain what we have and just manage your diet. At the end of the day, that works pretty well. And I mean, by that same token, take me for example. I've got enough muscle at this point, and again, that's confirmed by DEXA scans. People want to say, you don't have any muscle. I probably have 20 pounds of muscle in some of your heroes. All right, let's be realistic. That's provable with my DEXA scans. My maintenance calories are insane, right? My day-to-day activities, me actually training fairly hard 3 days a week, I couldn't even maintain my weight on 3,000 calories. My maintenance is above 3,000 at this point. My maintenance is over 3,500, really. It's closer to 4,000 calories. Just training 3 days a week, walking my dog, handling my other business at my amount of muscle I have right now. So that's something that we need to think about with that stuff. Once you reach a certain threshold, once you get big enough, you can still eat a lot of food and lose body weight without doing tons of extra activity and cardio. And I mean, we've all done that. I've gone that route before. But it isn't always necessary. It really is about managing diet and finding just good diet tools. And in my case, I like eating bigger meals, and I like being able to socialize and do other stuff also, be able to go on dates, be able to do other things at night and eat normal food. Now, it doesn't mean you just eat all the garbage necessarily. You know, you go out somewhere for dinner. Uh, you know, you can get the steak and potatoes and broccoli and and a beer or a glass of wine or whatever with it. And no one's going to question that. You know, I mean, that's perfectly fine. Oh, the fact that you didn't eat fried food, no one questions that in a social environment. You order a steak and potato and some steamed broccoli on the side and have an alcoholic beverage with it. Perfectly healthy. Awesome. Awesome evening if you have calories remaining for it, right? You can eat stuff like that and everyone thinks it's normal. No one thinks you're on a weird kooky diet. They don't, because those are pretty normal foods. No one's going to question the fact that you didn't eat garbage. Or, you do want to work in something that tastes really better and you decide to get the Philly cheesesteak burger. That's kind of the nice thing about it, is that this sort of method allows you to have a lot of calories left in the evening. And when most people socializing and holidays and dates and everything else, they tend to be in the evening. So if you're going to eat a lot of food in different environments, it just kind of prepares you for that. And it makes it easy, and you don't necessarily feel like you're on a diet or you're cutting at that point. And I found that works really well. If I'm going to be socializing in the evening and things that I've done, leaving myself at least 1,500 calories going into the evening works wonders. It lets you really feel free when you're doing those things, and it lets you eat food and go to sleep full. And for me personally, I would rather, at this point in the game, would rather be hungry for the first half of the day than be hungry in the evening. That's just works better for me. And so I needed to try the fasted training. And it's been working fine. You guys have seen my workouts. All these workouts recently, the ones I've been doing for the last couple of weeks, have been fasted. I've hit some rep PRs. I've hit some PRs, right? There's actual PRs in there. We've retained muscle perfectly. And let's see what happens in another 3 months. Let's see how the next DEXA scan goes. I'm predicting that this is going to go pretty good because it feels like this is working. I haven't lost muscle mass while doing the fasted training so far that I can tell. I haven't lost performance. So if I can maintain my performance and maybe even gain a little bit and continue to stay in a calorie deficit and the scale keeps going down, what's that going to mean in 3 months? It should be fantastic. So I plan on continuing to do this. It's working. I'm not seeing any detriment to it. Oh, I have to be hungry in the morning. So what? I'd rather be hungry in the morning than the evening. And that's a personal preference. And that's what these things come down to. It's about diet adherence. It's about diet adherence. And I'm sorry, that's a reality. You're going to get hungry if you're losing body fat. Anyone who tells you, oh, I've got this method of blunt hunger goes, those are usually drugs. There's a reason cokeheads and other people lose weight. They've got drugs that blunt their appetite, but that's not health. That's not fitness. At a certain point, you're going to have to learn to manage your hunger. Where can you handle it? Where can you not? And this seems to work pretty well for me. It's been working. We've seen the DEXA scans. You guys see my face. You see everything else. My waist is down like 4 inches at this point. It's coming along nicely. It seems to be working well. So I'm going to continue it. And the beauty of it is because my training volumes are not at my total maximum recoverable volume, they're at a nice moderate volume. They're intense, hard workouts. But I'm able to train through them. I'm able to do them fasted. It's not destroying me. It's not destroying me. It's been totally workable. So I've been happy with that I haven't lost performance. And that's what it comes down to. As long as your training is at a point where you're not losing performance, you can hit your reps and sets and weights and everything else, you're generally not going to lose muscle mass. So that's a good thing. Even if you're in a caloric deficit, really you have to be able to stimulate enough adaptation to hold on to the muscle you have. And what I'm finding so far for me, I'm able to do that fasted. So that's a good thing. So that was a concern when I tried this. That's usually the biggest concern with training fasted. It's always been my point to it. You got to watch that. Now, if you guys are saying, hey, I want to bulk and train fasted, that's just stupid. You wouldn't do that because that will interfere with your maximum recoverable volume. That will interfere with how far you can push your body. That's not ideal. It's not ideal. But when you're cutting, and maybe in some cases recomping, it might work if fasting works for you for diet adherence. And that's what it comes down to. Because there's nothing magical about the fasting. It's just a diet adherence tool. That's all it is. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.